Stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretended to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You are watching Roland Martin, and I'm on his show today, and it's, what, huh? You should have some cue cards.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jacob Lattimore, and you're now watching Roland Martin right now.
In Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, he said that there are 4 institutions that are prime positioned to liberate Black America. He says the Negro Church, the Negro Press, Negro fraternities and sororities, Negro professional and business organizations. When it came to the Negro Press, he said, Michael, that the Negro Press must maintain its militancy and not fall for the conservative. King wasn't talking about the black press only focusing on white folks. He was also talking about the Negro press doing their jobs when it comes to black folks. And all these folks, and I've been seeing these people mad or angry, upset, why you trying to sit here and bring down one of our schools? My whole deal is this here. If these students and parents are spending money, first of all, Michael, these students should not have to be doing protests. These students should be focused on the classroom and not worrying about rats in the classroom. They should be focusing on being able to study and not worrying about mold and things along those lines in the buildings. This is not what students at Bethune Cookman or any college should have to be doing. They should be focusing, again, on studies. And so if they are having to do this, it is arrogant, dismissive, and degrading to act as if all of them are lying and making stuff up.
Right. And here's the other thing, too, right? So when we talk about these students, you know, sometimes I hate the way we talk about them in a patronizing way. Like, these are people who paying their salary, right? There would be no Bethune Cookman. There would be no president. The board wouldn't have a place to meet. There wouldn't be any facilities without these students who are paying their tuition, some of them indebting themselves for the rest of their lives to go to this institution. They are the people, they are the bosses here, right? And the other thing is, I can guarantee you this, Roland, I don't care what these people at this institution say. I guarantee you that there will be less mold at Bethune Cookman next week than there was before you started reporting on this. I guarantee you that there will be a few less rat at Bethune Cookman than those last week. I can guarantee you that the president of the university will have met with those students the next time the school's names popped up in the national news. It shows that the Negro press is doing its job, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes everybody ain't it, but that's what this is accountability, and everybody ain't gonna always like it.
No, they're not going to like it. Also, Hey, Keenan, I don't know what the hell happened to our YouTube feed. We had about 4,000 folks watching now and 683. Somebody explain to me what the hell happened. Let me go to to Robert here. Again, if you got problems, you fix your problems. What you don't do is crap on your students and your alumni. What you do is you come back and you say, hey, folks, we've done a complete campus-wide breakdown. This is what is getting fixed today. And then what you do, Robert, is you send out daily alerts. We actually had folks walk through 10 buildings today and assess this, and this is what's being done. And then this is what's going to be done tomorrow. And then you issue these daily reports, and so all of a sudden people see stuff is actually happening, things are getting done, and now they realize, oh, our issues are being addressed. That's what happened at Florida A&M. When we kicked they behind over what happened with the football players and the band, they had to come out and say, oh, we only had one academic person who was clearing them. Now we got 6 people working on the problem. They had to fix the problem. What you don't do is whine, holler, and complain and go hide. What you do is communicate to your constituents how you're fixing the problem.
Well, you're exactly right. And this is one of those situations where be careful what you wish for, because if you remember back that famous photo of the HBCU presidents meeting with President Trump, Kellyanne Conway barefoot laying on the couch. But the conceptualization of that meeting, the subsequent meetings have always been getting more funding for HBCUs, bringing more attention to the needs of HBCUs, ensuring that we have equality, ensuring that we have the ability to compete in the 21st century educational environment and economy going forward. Part of what Coach Prime did was bring more attention to HBCUs and bring in millions of dollars to all institutions, not just to Jackson State, beginning this renaissance of coaches like Hugh Jackson and Eddie George and Ed Reed, tentatively coaching these institutions. But with that comes intense and increased media scrutiny. People, when they start looking under the sheets and in the cabinets, they start finding things. And because of this, all HBCUs need to take this as a lesson to step their game up. If you want to have the additional resources, if you want to have the additional funding, if you want to have the additional enrollment, the additional press attention coming to HBCUs that's currently coming, you have to be ready to improve your conditions so that they are on par or exceeding those of the corollary white institutions. I remember being a student at HBCU and then going across town to Georgia State or to UGA or University of Georgia, and it looked like you went to a spaceship to the future, looking at the facilities there. We cannot just say, well, come to an HBCU because of marching band, homecoming, and the culture. We need to be competing dollar for dollar, facility for facility with other schools, and having mold or mildew is not an excuse. Having an unsafe campus is not an excuse. We have the same issue in the AUC with an open campus, university homes being right next door. There being hookers and stuff on Ashby Street, etc. And that went on until a couple students ended up getting shot and one young girl died, and then they decided to close the campuses off. These students have every right and every need and every necessity to protest. The only question is, why did the university wait until this point to fix these issues? And at this point, they need to be going to rocket speed to address the issues of these protesters, because otherwise they have no reason, no raison d'etre to exist, and no claim that people aren't supporting them if they're not supporting themselves first.
And Rebecca, look, we talked about funding. I just want to show folk facts. We talked about the funding that HBCUs have received, nearly $7 billion over the last couple of years. Go to my iPad, Henry. You'll see right here, CAP F1 forgiveness. You see right there, Bethune Cookman University got $1.99 million in forgiveness. The next chart right here, CARES Act 1. Bethune Cookman, you will see, received $6.6 million. Then when you look at CARES Act 2, Bethune Cookman, $7.963 million. CRRSA, $10.7 million. CRRSA 2, $8 million. American Rescue Plan, $18.8 million. Then ARP Act 2, $14 million. So from the federal government in the last 2 years, you see the number right there. Bethune Cookman has received $68,398,187. I think, Rebecca, what the students are saying is, if you receive $68 million in the last 2 or 3 years from the federal government, damn, even though the hurricane hit, we might not want to see some mold.
So I want to talk about two things. I do want to talk about that funding mechanism, but I also want to talk about leadership. So first, let me address leadership. These students, first of all, I commend them. I stand with them. These students deserve only the best leadership. If we view within our community as HBCUs as being that thought leader in education and a major institution to really propel the Black community forward, we should demand as a community, those who are alums of HBCUs, attend HBCUs, or just a Black community period, we should be demanding that only the best leadership, the best trained leadership, not a former general counsel, should be running these hallmark institutions. So that's the first thing. This has to be accountability with leadership. I know earlier Michael mentioned, there's both sides with Ed Reed, but I hold President Drake to a higher standard here because he is supposed to be the president of this institution. But second, when it comes to funding, that particular chart that you just showed, last year the White House and House Democrats were negotiating funding where HBCUs would have been forced to share the very limited money in Title III and the Higher Ed Act that they received, that they were going to be forced to share it with other minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic-serving institutions who are PWIs and get normal funding that HBCUs don't have access to. So I think there's two things here. First, there's leadership. There's also that dedicated financial funding mechanism and understanding there's a lot of infrastructure. Even though this administration is putting a lot of money towards broadband for HBCUs, there's still a lot of electrical grid issues that these HBCUs have to deal with to be able to actually utilize some of that broadband that's coming to campuses.
But here's the deal, Joe, and all these people out here whining and complaining, man, why are you covering this? All the issues she talked about, we've covered. Just had UNCF on, Thurgood Marshall on, NAFIA on. So the notion that we don't focus on this, we do. We gonna cover the good, the bad, the ugly, and the excellent when it comes to HBCUs. But what folks should stop doing is expecting that we gonna turn a blind eye. Why don't you focus on the positive stuff? No, we gonna cover all of it because this is impacting these folks getting a quality education.
This happens at all kinds of schools, all kinds of small schools. What's bad is that when it happens to HBCUs, who still, despite the resource issues that have always been around, most teachers, Black teachers, pass through HBCUs at some point. Most doctors, most lawyers, most Black professionals do. Most college-educated Black folks do. What's so bad about it is that we have more to lose. This is not a situation where we get to make an exception. Society is going to make an exception when we do right. We already have that problem where we do well and we're more miraculous than indicative. We're more of an exception than a rule. It doesn't make people say there's more like him. It makes them say he's not like the others. But if a white institution has this problem, nobody's getting down on colleges and giving on colleges, okay? People will still believe in the value of a college education and hopefully do what it is that they need to do. We've got more to lose. 94% of the kids that go to HBCUs or to Bethune Cookman have financial aid. These folks come from difficult situations sometimes. And it's all the more important that there is accountability. There's no reason we should be sending our children to a school that is inherently unsafe, and I paid money for it.
Michael.
It's not like I went, somebody's money is represented there.
Michael, final 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly what Joe said, right? You're not supposed to care about Bethune Cookman. You're supposed to care about Black people and the Black children and the Black people that go to Bethune Cookman. You're not supposed to care about a name or an idea or an institution. You're supposed to care about the things that serve people. That's why all of this is important.
Indeed. Michael Harrod, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. Folks, we come back. We're going to talk about Ben Crump and Florida legislators suing Governor Ron Desantis over his blocking of an AP African American Studies program. We'll discuss that and more right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, I'm sure you've heard that saying that the only thing guaranteed is death and taxes. The truth is that the wealthy get wealthier, by understanding tax strategy. And that's exactly the conversation that we're going to have on the next Get Wealthy, where you're going to learn wealth hacks that help you turn your wages into wealth.
Taxes is one of the largest expenses you ever have. You really got to know how to manage that thing and get that under control so that you can build wealth.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
My name is Charlie Wilson.
Hi, I'm Sally Richardson Whitfield.
And I'm Dodger Whitfield.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, look, the stuff that we covered, look, you're not going to see anywhere else. That's one of the reasons why we have been nominated for Outstanding News Special by the NAACP Image Awards. You have an opportunity to actually vote for that. All you have to do is go to vote.naacpimageawards.net. Scroll down to the category Outstanding News, Information, Series, or Special. Select that category. Scroll to hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered. Black Votes Matter election night coverage. Click on vote, then scroll down to back to categories, click on submit votes. You can register just with one email. So if you got multiple emails, you can vote multiple times. We want you to support us in what we do so we can bring home our first Image Awards for the show. You have to confirm you're not a robot, and then when you can vote. You have until February 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern, February 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern to actually vote. And so we want you to do that and to support us in what we do. So again, vote for us, vote.naacpimageawards.net. Time for Black and Missing. Folks, a New York family is desperately looking for law school student Jordan Taylor. He disappeared on January 6th after leaving his apartment in Queens around 5:30 a.m. The 29-year-old is 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighs 170 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a dark blue coat with a hood, black pants, a black and red Argyle sweater, and black sneakers. Jordan's phone and wallet, which had cash and credit cards inside, were discovered at different times and locations on the next day, January 7th. Anyone with information about Jordan Taylor is asked to call the New York Police Department, 107th Precinct at 800-577-8477, 800-577-8477. Folks, a grandmother in Austin, Texas was held against her will in a grocery store and accused of stealing $50. Watch this. Betty Smith was shopping at Lindemann grocery store when she found a $50 bill on the floor. Turn the audio up. Watch this. Listen to this. No audio? Well, store employees confronted her and told her she could not leave with the money. The confrontation escalated when one of the employees put Smith in a chokehold and the other employee snatched the money from her hand. The police were called. Smith's family was placed and handcuffed, and her daughter was arrested. The Austin County District Attorney, Travis Cohn, made this statement following the incident. The Austin County District Attorney's Office has received offense reports, witness statements, and extensive video evidence from the Austin County Sheriff's Office investigation concerning the January 16, 2023 incident at Lindemann store. The District Attorney's Office is carefully reviewing this matter, as we do with all investigations forwarded by law enforcement. This remains an ongoing investigation. The office will continue to request and review any additional evidence that may be relevant to charging decisions in this incident. When this matter is completed, the Austin County District Attorney's Office will issue a press release to notify the public regarding the outcome. Now, all 3 employees have been fired. The store owner apologized, offered to pay the bail for Smith's daughter, and told her she could have the $50 she found. Smith declined and wants to press charges against the store employees. Rebecca, sounds to me like 1, it's some store employees that's gonna get arrested for assault, and 2, that store owner, his ass gonna get sued.
Oh, yeah. I think a couple of weeks ago, we were using the phrase FAFO, F around and find out. And that's exactly what happened here. Because at the end of the day, if he would not have fired those employees immediately, then I would say by the end of next week, that grandmother was going to own that convenience store. I'm glad with how this is turning out, that that folks are safe here, because this really could have turned a different way. They could have been arrested and they may not have been safe while in custody. But I do hope that they do press forward, because enough is enough. We're tired of things like this happening in Texas. We're tired of things like this happening across the country. Can Black folks just live?
I'm just trying to understand, Joe, how the hell you just put somebody in a chokehold? What?
It's nuts. You know, in every situation that you come into, you have these predetermined thoughts that are based on background history, what you watched on television, what you've seen, and you will understand, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You will understand what somebody thinks about you and yours as soon as you see them dealing with you in a situation. There are a whole bunch of different ways that they could have dealt with the situation. And at the end of the day, God forbid she has stole the $50. It was $50. $50 will get you 2 gallons of gas now. There was nothing to that. You know what I mean? Here in California, you got people walking out of stores with full garbage, with full baskets, with nothing in it. And because we have gotten a certain way with the law, sometimes that they aren't doing anything. But you've got this woman who says she found $50. She doesn't get the benefit of the doubt, or you false imprison her. You actually break the law yourself in order to, do the quote right thing. But I would submit to you, sadly, it's not about them just doing the right thing because of what they see on the outside. It's about what they believe this person is or is not, or who they are or are not on the inside. And that's what influences everything. And that's why they're going to have a serious problem. At least this time, they're not only morally wrong, but they're probably going to be legally wrong too.
And Robert, when the owner has already fired the employees and apologized, that lawsuit looked real good.
Correct. And I think this goes back to the Dred Scott decision. If people remember what he said, the black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. And that's still the prevailing ideology of many people in this country, this conceptualization that black folks are still second-class citizens. And this idea that you can put them in a headlock, wrestle them down, hold them against their will, simply by your authority as a white person to do so. And remember, Texas, just like Georgia, is a constitutional carry state. They don't know this woman was strapped and that she was willing to defend herself. And if you see somebody putting you or your child in a headlock, standing your ground to protect themselves. People have to understand that you have co-equal rights with other people in a civil society, not countervening, not above, not below. And because of that, if you believe somebody had stolen $50, you call the police, you make a police report, you give them the video, you let them handle it. You do not proceed to falsely imprison somebody and assault them to do so. So I'm glad that every day in society now is videotaped, so we get both sides, or so we get an impartial side of the discussion. We're not having to depend on witness statements or what he said or she said. And I'm glad that this family will get justice going forward, because it was an absolute violation of both their civil and human rights.
And again, there's a lot of video, and that DA is like, I saw you put a chokehold, assault charges. Folks, let's go to Arkansas, where 2 Arkansas law enforcement officers are out of a job, and they're being charged with civil rights violations in the violent arrest of a man outside a convenience store. Former Crawford County Sheriff Deputy Zach King and Levi White face federal civil rights violation charges following an investigation by the Department of Justice. King and White stopped Randall Worcester because he matched the description of a suspect assailant. Worcester gave officers a false identity when the incident escalated. White said that Worcester assaulted him first before they began hitting Worcester repeatedly. Worcester was taken to a hospital, then released and booked into the Crawford County Jail on multiple charges, including second-degree battery, resisting arrest, and making terroristic threats, and later released. Tuesday, the two former deputies pleaded not guilty during a federal court appearance after the indictment against them was unsealed. The deputies face up to 10 years in prison. Well, Joe, this is what happens, again, when you have an aggressive Department of Justice who isn't letting cops off the hooks like Trump folks did.
No doubt about it. When you've got a department that is dedicated to this, it's sad that maybe it's happening a little bit more on the state side, but it's just not going to happen quite as often. And we've talked about this time and time again, where, when the same people that are counting on police for testimony actually end up having to prosecute them, it's just not going to happen. But when you do have an aggressive DOJ and U.S. attorneys, that will bring things that need to, and this is speedy. Bringing it quickly, all right? And the video doesn't lie there. You got experts get hired and get paid good money to act like you didn't see what you actually saw. That's what they were talking about in that Fort Worth case down there a couple months ago. But even then, there was still a conviction. So, clearly, this is important. It's important that you have the video, of course, on some level. And it's also important when you have an aggressive department that will bring this. Maybe not every police officer. Some people think, well, we just need to be more careful next time and make sure there's no video going. But at least some police officers will be a little less likely to do this or to inflict such pain and heartache on somebody in this particular situation. And I'm glad that they're doing it.
Rebecca, same Department of Justice. Go to my iPad, please. The DOJ announced today that they have concluded there is reasonable cause to believe that the Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections routinely confines people in its custody past the dates when they are legally entitled to be released from custody in violation of the 14th Amendment. This is huge here. It said between January and April 2022 alone, 26.8% of the people released from Louisiana Department of Corrections custody were held past their release dates. Of those over detained people, 24% were held over for at least 90 days, and the median number of days over detained was 29. In the 4-month period, they had to pay parish jails an estimated $850,000. At that rate, the unconstitutional practice cost Louisiana more than $2.5 million. Damn. Again, thank goodness that Kristen Clark is leading the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. That is pathetic, and Governor Bill Edwards in Louisiana should be mad as hell.
So the current DOJ gives us a reprieve. My concern is always, wonder when Kristen Clark is no longer leading OCR with DOJ. So what happens next? And so just like we know that the Supreme Court has decided to uphold qualified immunity, and we know that some of this will go away if we no longer had qualified immunity. So I am interested if a lot of our legacy civil rights organizations are figuring out a strategy, some type of test case that we should run through different courts to actually get it back to the Supreme Court. How do we finally figure out how to get rid of qualified immunity, which allows for these folks who are bad actors in our legal system, in law enforcement, to continue to do the things that they're doing?
Well, I'll tell you this, Robert. Look, I can deal later what's going to happen if she's not there. I can celebrate what they're doing now. And one of the things that they have done, they've been very aggressive in going after correctional officers and departments across the country, not just bad cops.
It's very important, the work being done by the Department of Justice, but it just spotlights the need for comprehensive police reform in this country. Going beyond even the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, we need to have a comprehensive bill that reforms our law enforcement system. As Rebecca said, it will be great if we could go before the Supreme Court, but with a 6-3 majority, we already know that this court will be voting against voting rights, will be voting against civil rights. They are trying to roll us back to the 1950s. This is a Make America Great Again Supreme Court. So going to have to happen legislatively. Because of that, we have to make sure we hold Democrats responsible so that next election cycle, they do get a majority in the House of Representatives, they do have a majority in the Senate and have a Democratic president, that we are at the front of the line, not the back of the line. That the same way you can pass a $1.7 trillion infrastructure bill, the same way you can pass a skinny Build Back Better bill, the same way you can get an omnibus spending bill through, you have to do the same for criminal justice reform. This is a life and death issue for Black people, and we cannot simply allow this to be pushed back.
I'm out of time. I got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, a relationship that we have to have. We're often afraid of it and don't like to talk about it. That's right, we're talking about our relationship with money. And here's the thing, our relationship with money oftentimes determines whether we have it or not.
The truth is you cannot change what you will not acknowledge.
Balancing your relationship with your pocketbook. That's next on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
How y'all doing? It's your favorite funny girl, Amanda Seals.
Hi, I'm Anthony Brown from Anthony Brown and Group Therapy.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, last night on the show, we talked to Mary Young, who was the police chief at Texas Southern University. And the university told us that as of January 9th, she was no longer an employee. We, of course, checked their website, and she was still listed as the police chief. We checked today, and they have scrubbed her name from the website. Now, also last night, she talked about having a temporary restraining order against the university, and that the restraining order, it actually expired on December 22nd. But TSU requested an extension of that restraining order. And then this is right here, folks. Let me pull it up right here. You'll be able to see it. They actually requested an extension, and so that restraining order is actually still in place. And so you'll see right here, go to it, that this is the extension right here. And they did grant TSU the extension, and so therefore that restraining order is still in place. Based upon the initial restraining order, they were not supposed to actually take any action against her. So according to her attorney, Ben Hall, TSU has violated that restraining order. It says right here, TSU seeks this appeal not for the purpose of delays. They actually are saying here that why they wanted the extension. And so the question has to be asked, if you're Texas Southern University, if the restraining order says you were not supposed to take any action against her, even regarding employment, why was she terminated as of January 9th? Makes no sense whatsoever. Robert, this is interesting right here because, again, you have TSU filing this, and granted, because they're a state university, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, that's what they represent. And so what's interesting in this particular case here is that the university, again, the restraining order was very clear what you can and cannot do. And so for them to terminate her in a restraining, TRO says you can't. Why are they making them harder for themselves? The TRO was real clear.
Well, one thing that lawyers always do, generally when they come into a case, is ask your client, why did you make it harder on yourself before I got here? This is a very clear situation where the documents are the documents. The written documents are what's going to govern the conduct of the parties in this situation. If the TRO says you cannot take this action, and then you take this action, well, now you're in violation of such. More than likely, this will result in additional litigation, additional problems from the university, and whoever made the ultimate decision to do so will probably end up being terminated over this. The best thing to do is always consult counsel before making any rash decisions in regards to what has happened, because that can save you a lot of money, a lot of headache in the long run. And I'm sure the judicial process will play out. But as we said earlier, with the additional attention on the HBCUs in the past several years, these schools and institutions have to get their act together, because what may have slid under the radar in the past will no longer fly.
It really makes no sense to me why they're doing this, Rebecca. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up what the TRO said here. This is what it said. It is therefore ordered, adjudged, and decreed that Texas Southern University, all the people, all the agents, and any other person acting on concert or participation with them are enjoined and restrained from. Now, Robert, you're a lawyer. Enjoined and restrained from, what does that mean?
You can't do it. That's kind of the fancy way of saying, no, you cannot do that. So I can't imagine I can make that more clear.
So let me read the rest. They are enjoined and restrained from, pull it up, threatening to, attempting to, purporting to, or taking any adverse employment or disciplinary action against petitioner until the court can conduct a hearing on petitioner's request for a temporary injunction and or permanent injunction in this case, utilizing the unsigned, untimely, and anonymous complaint against petitioner for any adverse employment or disciplinary action, and taking any further actions or failing to take necessary actions that would damage, impair, frustrate, put at risk, jeopardize, and or delay in any way the completion of the items addressed in section A and B or above. Now, it's clear, Robert, they said, TSU, y'all can't do nothing to her until there's a hearing. TSU requested an extension for the hearing. They terminate her on January 9th. You're a lawyer. What does that tell you that you requested an extension of the TRO, which means the TRO is still in effect, correct?
Correct. And if you're a judge looking at this, you're going to say that, well, the request for the extension shows that this was willful conduct. It wasn't that you didn't understand what was in the order. You actually requested more time so that you could violate the order. Not only does that make the case harder for you, that also indicates that there may be sanctions by the court later on down the line. This is a boneheaded decision and a boneheaded move. The only question is what will be the penalty that the court institutes, and also just a general rule for people going before judges. Piss pissing off the judge and disobeying their order is not a way to have a positive outcome in whatever the underlying issue was. They've made this a lot more difficult on themselves than it had to be.
And this right here, I mean, Rebecca, look, this is the same Texas Southern University Board of Regents that fired Board President Austin Lane over some BS in the law school, said they fired him for cause. Then when there was an investigation, what no cause, had to pay off his contract, got $1 million, and a couple of weeks later became the chancellor at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. So he got $1 million from TSU. This HBCU had to pay that money, and then he got a big promotion and got more money, and it was dumb. They literally said we fired him for cause, that was no cause. And it cost the university $1 million.
Once again, this is about leadership. I heard a lot about this story because I was in Houston last July. Like this is about leadership. This is also when you're dealing with personnel matters, you have to bring in your HR department. Just because you're a president or board of trustees, just because you feel like you could do something doesn't mean that you should. Because the judge was even very clear that there has to be due process here before that there is a separation or change, termination in employment by the police chief. So I really don't understand what's going on here and why they're just not listening. Like just put her on administrative leave if you don't want her on campus, if you don't want to interact with her.
No, you can't. No, you can't even do that. No. The TRO said you can't even do that. It said it right there. You can't take any kind of action, disciplinary or employment against her. I ain't no lawyer, but damn, Joe, I can read.
And so to the point, supporting everything else that's been said, now what we're talking about is the violation of the TRO. Normally, you get a TRO at the beginning. Now you're trying to get a preliminary injunction to take you through a litigation so that you keep something in place. You keep something from happening that would otherwise potentially happen while you go through it. Now, in the real world, anytime before doing plaintiff's employment, I was a defense employment lawyer for 12, 13 years. And so what I told anybody and everybody that would listen is what you need to do, if you really want this person gone, what you really want to do is get yourself a certain result by privately writing them a check, by confidentiality, and just go on to the next program. Now, here we are sitting on Roland talking about what went on at Texas Southern, and they can't even get to the merits, even if they thought they were actually merits related to letting this person go, or letting the police chief go, because they violated the court order. And so now they look like heck, right? They probably going to end up having to write her a check anyway, or be in an extensive litigation where the first thing that's talked about is them violating the TRO. Sometimes you have to really kind of look around the corner and not just look to it. If you really want to preserve the institution, if you really thought legitimately this person ought to go, then what you do is you write them a check and you go to the next program, and you do it quietly, and you do it in a way that doesn't make you look worse and make it where that's all you and I are sitting here talking about, as opposed to whatever you think the merits might be.
Well, what pisses me off is you're spending taxpayer money, and that's a problem right there. And look, in the case of Lane, go to my iPad here. Again, this is from the Texas Tribune, they gave him a 4-page notice of termination for a cause that alleged he failed to report allegations of fraud in the university admissions process in the law school and committed other contract violations. But guess what happened? When there was a settlement, the Regents announced that the settlement does not accuse him of wrongdoing, and they had to cut a big fat check. See? But here's what I do know for a fact, that it was personality conflicts. Didn't have a damn thing to do with what Austin Lane's performance was, and that's the BS that keeps happening. But TSU has had a history of a jacked up ass board of directors making stupid boneheaded decisions. And here's what's gonna happen. I doubt very seriously in Mary Young's case, I doubt they're gonna win that one, and they're gonna be cutting another fat check, and that's more money that could actually go to campus improvements or student safety or security, as opposed to paying settlements. It's dumb leadership. I don't know how in the hell you violate a TRO. That's just dumb as hell to me. All right, y'all, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about Attorney Ben Crump going after Governor Ron Desantis over getting rid of the African American Studies AP class. We'll also have Fit Live Win as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Most people think that these television shows that tell stories about who we are as black men, and then they paint these monolithic portraits of us. They think that they're being painted by white people. And I gotta tell you, there are a whole bunch of black folk that are the creators, the head writers, the directors of all of these shows, and that are still painting us as monoliths. People don't really want to have this conversation.
No, they don't.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, I'm sure you've heard that saying that the only thing guaranteed is death and taxes. The truth is that the wealthy get wealthier by understanding tax strategy. And that's exactly the conversation that we're going to have on the next Get Wealthy, where you're going to learn wealth hacks that help you turn your wages into wealth.
Taxes is one of the largest expenses you ever have. You really got to know how to manage that thing and get that under control so that you can build wealth.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm BB Winans.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, we've been focused on a new you in 2023, and our guest today focuses on plus-size training. That's right, plus-size training. A lot of people, again, bigger they get, they're intimidated, don't want to go to the gym. They don't like how people look at them, talk to them, and so they're scared about that. And so he says, you know what? That's not going to keep you from being able to work out and get fit. Maurice Robinson is the owner of Happy Hour Fitness Plus Size Training, joining me from Tucker, Georgia. Maurice, glad to have you here. So let's first talk about that, Maurice, because you do have people, again, who say, look, man, I'm not fit, how I look in the workout clothes. I don't like people looking at me, staring at me. That's a barrier for plus size folks to working out.
Yeah. A lot of times, I tell you straight up, Roland, most people that come to me, the plus size women, their biggest complaint is not being welcomed into the gym. So, you know, this is the new year, right? So, and like I said, I've seen different memes and things on social media about people making fun of all the new people coming to the gym, get out the way, you know what I'm saying, for the regulars. But see, what I want to do is make an environment comfortable for everybody to come work out in. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I come up with the Happy Hour Fitness. You know, I wanted people to be able to just come into the gym, feel welcome, not feel like people is shaming them, not feel like people is looking at them crazy. You know, so I just wanted to create that environment with the Happy Hour Fitness.
So, so how long have you focused on plus size folks?
It's been about 6 years now. 6 years now. So about 6 years ago, I was dating a young lady that was plus size, and she wanted to lose weight. We started off. She started off at about 416, I think it was, and we got her down to 250, and it was on from there.
And we talk about plus size. I mean, I take it you also have male clients.
I've had a couple male clients. I would like more, but when it comes to fitness, a lot of times the men, they have egos. A lot of times they don't want to ask for help. But the women just seem to be more open to coming to me and asking for help. And that's just the way it kind of ended up happening. But like I said, I'm not against training men, though, too, because I have had a couple of men work out with me.
How do you get folks to get over the mental block? Because I'm sure, look, you don't get to that size unless you lose confidence, you're overeating, you're doing all kinds of different stuff along those lines. And so clearly, you probably have to spend a lot of time dealing with their mental state before you deal with the physical state.
Oh man, that's definitely it. A lot of people, they do come in with low self-esteem, confidence issues. And I think that's where having a welcoming type energy to kind of get people over that initial hump. You know what I'm saying? Having somebody just come into the gym, when you're weighing 300, 400 pounds, especially down here in Atlanta where everybody is got a body, whether they bought it or not. But, there's a lot of fit people down here. So just being just my energy, being happy, a smiling face goes a long way. A smiling face goes a long way as far as getting them over that initial hump. And then from there, with a lot of my clients, they come to me and, they reveal certain things that they've dealt with, whether it's eating or just some maybe bullying or just having low confidence within itself. But I think, once you start working out and like you said, you're in an environment with like-minded people that are like open to helping you and just being welcoming pretty much. So that's how the happy hour fitness actually kicked off. It was just me trying to be welcoming to people, not being so standoffish. A lot of trainers kind of like bark at their clients a lot. They yell, they scream, they holler, they curse. Me, like I said, you could catch me with a smile on my face the whole time. A lot of my clients think they like, why are you smiling so much? I mean, it's just my personality, but I think that really helps them get over that initial hump.
Obviously, working out is as all of our different dietitians talk about, is 20% of the battle, 80% really is eating. How do you also help them on the food side in terms of what they're consuming in their body?
Oh man, that's a good question. So with the food side, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't really give out meal plans. But what I do give out is like recommendation and advice. And one thing I would say that really helps is being intentional with your eating. So when I say that, meaning like you have to know exactly what you're going to be eating. So when you get up in the morning, you just can't be winging it, because that way you're just going to go to McDonald's or grab some coffee or something out of the vending machine if you work somewhere like that. So like for me, I have a smoothie every morning. I got a smoothie in the morning, I get a snack during the midday, and then I eat a healthy lunch and dinner. So when I say healthy, I mean, and like I said, I don't want to make it too complicated. So pretty much a protein, a veggie, and a carb. You get that, and you're drinking your 64 to a gallon of water, that'll at least help you get on track to making better food choices. Because I've tried different meal plans and diets in the past with certain clients, and it really doesn't stick. So just making baby steps towards that. But you have to be intentional with your steps, even if you fall off. So when I say, even if you fall off, even if you get up and say, okay, I'm going to eat, I'm going to do my protein shake, I'm going to have a salad, and I'm going to eat chicken and rice for dinner tonight.
Yep.
And if you get up and you eat your protein shake and you have your salad for lunch, and then for dinner you have a slice of pizza, I mean, I don't take that as a loss. I still think it's making positive steps towards the goal.
Questions from our panel. Joe, you first.
Brother, I appreciate what you're doing here Here's my question. It's great that they come into this supportive environment where they feel certain support and are encouraged when they walk in. But what about when they walk out? And so what I mean by that is there any discussion about them, tuning away from television and some of the things and tuning out some of the things that focus so much on body image and on some level unhealthy body image? Super skinny isn't necessarily the healthiest thing either. Sure. Is there some encouragement regarding that, or does it kind of take care of itself once they decide I'm going to keep feeling this way even as I walk out, and therefore I'm changing who I'm around, I'm changing what I watch, I'm changing what I receive, I'm changing what I let come through my windows?
I think it's a little bit of both. So once you start working out and you start feeling a little bit better about yourself, there is discussions about eliminating the negative people, negative things within your life, especially when it comes to social media. If anybody's talking anything negative towards you on social media, and this is something I just recently started doing myself, you must eliminate them, period. When it comes to people, family and friends, I'm not saying you got to eliminate them, but, you'll start to just distance yourself as you become better. As you become better, you'll start to not really want to be around negative people, especially if you're working out with somebody like me who has a happy energy. So that happy energy becomes contagious. And then the negative become, you won't even want to be around it. So the more and more you start to work out, the more you're around the right type of energy and the right type of environment, the right type of people, before you know it, either those people are going to become positive or you're just going to not be around them no more.
Rebecca.
I've been told that as women age, that we need to incorporate more weightlifting. So what advice would you have for me? I'm now on the other side of 40. What advice do you have for someone like me with how do I get started with weightlifting?
I'm just messing with you. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Roland.
You start off kind of slow. Just start off slow. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make when it comes to working out, especially when you're over 40, is going too hard too fast. So lifting weights, you must do that because that's going to help build the muscle. It's going to help keep you toned. But I would say don't overdo it. Start off slow. So with my clients, most of the time we're using 5s, 8s, and 10s. And I teach like a beginner style of workout. But once you get to a certain point where you're past those 5s, you get past those 8s, and you get past those 10s, then you just build up. But starting off slow, and I would say light. Focus on your balance. That's another big thing for my plus size people. Their balance is off a lot of times. So, balance is starting off slow, keep the consistency, and as you move on, you'll just move up to heavier weights.
All right. Maurice, how can folks reach you?
You can reach me at, on Facebook, Maurice Robinson. On Instagram and TikTok, that's Happy Hour Fitness Plus. My website, happyhourfitness.com. I'm always accepting new clients. Just hit me up in my inbox or email me.
All right, then. Maurice, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. All
right, folks, coming up next, we will talk about Attorney Ben Crump suing Governor Ron Desantis over his controversial decision to end the AP African American Studies program class. We'll discuss that next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered with Black Star Network. Be sure to support us in what we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do, like traveling next week to Bethune Cookman. It's probably going to cost about $15,000 for crew and travel. Send your check-in money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
It's Kim Whitley.
Yo, what's up? This your boy Ice Cube.
Hey, yo, Peace World. What's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, Governor Ron Desantis, Attorney Ben Crump, and others are coming after you. DeSantis chose to block an AP advancement course dealing with African-American studies, claiming it had no educational value. Well, Crump will be filing the lawsuit on behalf of several students and lawmakers. This took place today at a news conference in Florida.
Thank you all for being here, especially to the leaders, the clergy, and to all of the activists in the community who said, hell no. We have to remember that it's so important, this cause, this fight, so much is at stake. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Craig Wisenhunt and with Attorney Precious Chavez and the NAACP, as well as the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. We're here to give notice to Governor DeSantis that if he does not negotiate with the College Board to allow AP African American Studies to be taught in the classrooms across the state of Florida, that these three young people will be the lead plaintiffs in a historic lawsuit. And you all need to remember their names, because it's their courageous tenacity and their intellect that reminds me, Reverend Holmes, many of the examples that were shown to the world by a young John Lewis, a young Julian Bond, a young Fannie Lou Hamer. You will remember the names of Elijah Edwards, of Victoria Heckman, of Victoria McQueen, and Juliet Heckman. Now, this is what it's about. It is about them. This is what the fight is for. Never, ever forget that. And The fact that they're coming forward in this consequential moment in history can never be taken lightly.
Folks, joining us right now to discuss this, one of the students involved in this, along with Florida State Senator Chevron Jones Jr. He joins us, as well as, give me 1 second, my bad here, pulling this up. With Elijah Edwards. Glad to have both of you here. Senator Jones, I want to start with you first because this is a governor who has been consistently attacking black people. And this is about the culture wars. This is about stoking white fear in advance of him running for president in 2024.
Yeah, Roland, I stopped using the word culture wars and I started just using the word racism because that's exactly what we're seeing. It's flat out racism of what we're seeing right now. It is clear that high school students, they have the same rights as the college students to receive the education that they and their parents that they desire. If you will remember just recently, Judge Walker ruled in November in his injunction against the implementation of the Stop Woke Act in our universities. And we believe that banning AP African American Studies similarly violates the rights of our high school students. But you know what? Mr. Crump said it best. This is about the kids. This is about these students. It's about Elijah. It's about Victoria. It's about Juliet, who came forward. They are the ones who pushed us forward to say that they were prepared to take this class. They were prepared to not only just take it themselves, but recruit other students to take this class in this next semester. And I'll end with this, Roland. 60 schools across the country went in a pilot program to build this curriculum. When one of those schools are right here in Leon County, and for the governor now to say that it brings no educational value, let's throw the AP entity out the window. Let's talk specifically about us as African Americans, as black people. 22% of the population here within the state of Florida. We have a chance where children will go through the educational system in the state of Florida and not see themselves represented in education and not be able to identify themselves here, even within the state of Florida. And that's just the type of Florida that's happening. And Roland, you see that. You saw it in 2019 with HB1. You saw it last year with the Stop Woke. And here we are again. We're the new punching bag in the state of Florida.
Elijah, why do you want to be a part of this?
I wanted to be a part of this specifically because I wanted to take the AP African American Studies course, and there was a lot of talk about it. So we was all a lot of kids, a part of my family, and a lot of kids in my school and class who were really getting hyped at the thought of being able to learn about ourselves and our culture. So once I heard that Governor DeSantis deemed the study of our people uneducational, or he is saying, I feel like he's saying that we are important. So I wanted to show him or make him see that we are.
Rebecca.
Sure. So the question that I have for you all, is there more that the College Board could do? Could the College Board tell the state of Florida that we won't recognize any AP credit if DeSantis doesn't back down? What could the College Board do to support you all?
Well, Rebecca, while I would have hoped that the College Board would have done that, the College Board, unfortunately, has made it clear that next Wednesday that they are going to bring some revisions to the state of Florida to what that AP African American Studies class will look like. It's so unfortunate that that's where we're about to end up, and the College Board are just going to give in to Governor DeSantis.
Joe?
This is an amazing thing you guys are doing. I admire all of you young people who are young adults who are leading the way just by what it is that you're doing. Talk to us about your dreams and what it is that you feel like you would like to do long term, or is this sparking something in you? Maybe you want to be an attorney. It's okay if you don't. Steady from here. But what have you thought about how even taking the African American Study class, taking AP classes, how is that going to help what you have planned for your future?
Well, long term, I wanted to either become an engineer or a lawyer. And if I wanted to be a lawyer, I was going to be a civil lawyer. I wanted to stay in my community and help those around me with cases and problems they might have with other people, or even like right now, we're having a problem with the governor. If I wanted to be the person that can empower those whose voices may not be heard over over the big body that is American government right now.
Well, you got help, not only sitting next to you, but in Ben Crump and in 2 lawyers sitting on this term. Man, however you want to go long, man, we can do it forever. Whatever it is you try to do, we got your back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, it is critically important, I think, to challenge this governor. He is trying his best to push these buttons of white fear. We see exactly what he is doing. And so he must be put in check. And I think using the court system to do so is important. And what type of financial support that's going to go along with this? You have to fund the lawsuit. So what's happening on that end, Senator Jones?
So, Roland, I believe Attorney Crump, he's working with a series of different organizations. I know the NAACP is working along with him, and the ACLU and some other organizations, which I'm sure are going to provide some support. But I'm sure that other individuals will work to help to make sure that we alleviate some of the costs that will come with this. And that will also include what these students would need to fight this fight in the coming weeks.
Oh, absolutely. Any additional questions, Rebecca or Joe?
Just our admiration, man, and our wishing you peace and, welcome to the struggle. It's a heck of a way to get involved, but we're looking not to the corner, but around it. And
that's right.
We're going to win, man. We're going to win.
That's it.
Yeah, we support you and we're proud of you.
All right, then. Elijah, any final word?
Nah, I think we said everything that need to be said, and I think we're looking at the finish line, and then we finna win.
All right, then. Well, look, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch, and good luck in this suit.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch. Bottom line, Rebecca and Joe, look, this is the only way you deal with fascism, racism. You have to go after it. You got to be aggressive in targeting and not let Ron Desantis play the games that he's playing, because I keep telling people he is more dangerous than Donald Trump.
Yeah, I agree. He is more dangerous than Donald Trump because he knows a little bit more about pushing the buttons and the levers of power. That being said, I don't think there's anything spectacular about him. I think there's a lot that's dangerous about him. And ultimately, he's getting ready to go down the road on understanding firsthand how difficult it is to win the presidency with no black votes. And, 2 of the last 3 times Republicans have been elected, they've been elected without winning the number of popular votes that they need to win, actually. So in that way, I think it's going to negatively affect him. But I think he's morally wrong as well. And so we have to go down the road, do everything that we can, fight as hard as we can in the courts, politically and otherwise, so that he never forgets the day that he took on this battle.
Rebecca.
DeSantis has been very devious with how he pitted black and brown communities against each other. Like when I think about when he ran against Andrew Gillum in 2018, he was able to convince a lot of Haitian first-gen immigrants that he was supporting school choice and he was going to make sure that their children could go to schools with particular vouchers. He said those things not because he actually supported the education of those children, but because he actually wanted to pit communities against each other, because he only won by 33,000 votes. And that was what he was able to pick up in Miami-Dade by being very divisive.
All right, then. I certainly appreciate both of you for joining us, as well as Robert, who had to leave a little bit early. Thanks a bunch. Folks, don't forget, help us by downloading the Black Star app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Support our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America's Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Download on all the platforms, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. Also, download the copy, audio copy on Audible. Folks, I'll see you tomorrow. Larry Wagner is back talking about HR help for employers. I'll see you tomorrow. How? Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.